Okay, let's begin. Hey guys, welcome to my regular Wednesday night live stream. Today I have an awesome guest. It's the very fantastic Kirralie Smith. Hi Kirralie, thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really pleased. I wasn't aware if you knew anything about me, so like for you to agree was really exciting.
No problem. I've seen you on Twitter roundabout, so yeah, no problem.
No, it's really good stuff. Well, I feel like you've become super well known mainly on the fact based on binary and gender. Do you want to discuss like how you decided that this would be your main talking points?
Yeah, well, before that, I spent 7 years on the halal certification issue in Australia. So that's where I guess my foundation was laid as a public figure. And, you know, I've had quite a following, particularly on Facebook. I've got around 50,000 followers there, around 12 or so thousand here on Twitter, sorry. And through that journey, with the halal certification, I guess people got to know me. I do have a Bachelor of Theology. I've travelled quite extensively and done quite a wide variety of things in my life. And through the plebiscite campaign a couple of years ago, I made a couple of comments about same-sex marriage and shared my opinion, but they were both the video and a post that I made went to over 2 million views and 2 million people. And I guess that's where I was established in this domain. And then throughout the marriage plebiscite, we did warn that there would be consequences of degendering marriage. It's not about anti-gay. It's not about even anti-same-sex people. It was if we change the law to remove gender as a requirement for marriage, then gender would be removed in many other spheres of public life. And that's exactly what has happened. Everything we warned about. Sorry?
Tasmania.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, with birth certificates, we can talk about all of that in a moment, but everything that we warned about has come to pass or was coming to pass and still is. So I guess I'm the spokesperson of a group called Binary.
I know.
Me, and we work hard to research, to equip and empower particularly parents, but everyone in society, every concerned citizen who is seeing the flow-on effects of particularly the radical transgender movement that is affecting areas of our life. So yeah, through getting together with these people, we've created an organisation that took off where the Marriage Alliance left off after the marriage plebiscite campaign. So we've been absolutely blown away in the last year. Well, we've been around now for about a year. And we've had some very significant wins and made a significant contribution to the public debate, and the plans that we have are quite significant as well. So I'm really looking forward to everything that we've got to do.
That's really good. Was there any backlash for being the face of, you know, the no? It's because, I mean, we're living in a country where you would think freedom of expression is completely fine, yet I'm hearing about the fact that the no campaign is not being allowed until after like 10 p.m. or not being allowed at all on television, and that the lefties are saying burn down churches, and that's all perfectly fine. But then when Israel Folau says something about drunkards, atheists, none of them care. Somehow, for some reason, you know, the fairy gays tend to be up in arms and it becomes an issue. Did you receive any backlash in that regard?
Yeah, well, I wasn't a part of the formal no campaign. Like I said, though, I did make my own video rant and made my own post of me holding my no vote, and both of those things got over 2 million views each, and I received extremely savage backlash. Now, let me put this in context for you. As an Islam critic and the halal certification campaigner, I did receive death threats. I did family had to move home because of security issues. I did face some really aggressive opposition, but the vile opposition that I faced simply for saying that it's okay to vote no was a next level. Again, the harassment, the bullying, the intimidation, the attempts to silence me were massive, but I'm pleased to say, and will say it every single day, that I won't be intimidated. I won't back down. I defend your right to say whatever it is that you want to say. I don't have to agree with you on anything, and or, you know, with anyone who says anything. But I think that in a civilized, democratic society, we have to stand up and defend our right to have an intelligent debate about these issues. And I found that, particularly in that No campaign, I personally only received very aggressive opposition, insults, threats, bullying, very little engagement with the actual issues that I was raising. And I'm finding that again. There are some people, there are some exceptions who would like to engage civilly. I'm always happy to do that. I'm not to engage or to, yeah, like I said, I won't back down. I won't be intimidated. I think that I have right to my opinion, as do you, as does everybody else.
No, you're absolutely right. I completely agree. But I think we've moved beyond that now. I don't think we're in a society now where it's not about acceptance. It's not about tolerance. It's about, you have to accept me, and if you don't, I will make you care.
Yeah, well, we're seeing. Yeah, and this is why Binary has just begun to launch a parental rights campaign, because radical activists have infiltrated political parties, the education system, many spheres of public service. And this, as you said, it's not just about an acceptance or an education of all ideologies. There is one ideology that must be accepted, and that will be imposed upon all of us. And so in the UK in particular, we see that children as young as 4 have to face mandatory education, which I'll say is mandatory indoctrination into the radical trans agenda, is well on its way here in Australia. It hasn't been implemented. And so what Binary and others will try and do now is stand up for parental rights. We will defend those. We will make sure that they are entrenched in legislation, because we don't need 4-year-olds being entrenched into an ideology and being indoctrinated through schools, which are meant to provide education, not indoctrination.
This is very, very true. And the funny thing is that I saw a video by Kate Hopkins, I forget her name. And the video was actually Muslims and Christians together against this particular school. So this whole Islam being married to the left, it can only go so far. Like it's a weird marriage there anyway. But it turns out that Islam has a lot in common with Christianity, at least at some level. And they hate this transgenderism indoctrination that's happening to their kids, and homosexual indoctrination. And so it seems like there's going to be other random alliances being formed. Have you noticed anything like that yourself?
Well, look, you know, all extremist views will become exhausted, I guess, and there will come a day where those extremist views won't be tolerated. And we are seeing that the radical gender extremists are going way too far, and the agenda is being exposed. You know, last week I did a video on the Canadian Cancer Society encouraging biological men to have pap smears, which is, you know, absolutely impossible. And it's so sad that a supposedly reputable organisation like the Cancer Society would even enter into this territory. But it's great because it's exposing these things. And as you said, the instance in the UK was a particular school that is making it mandatory for children to have explicit sexual content from a very young age. And it doesn't really matter what your religious views or even non-religious views are. Most reasonable people will say that's unacceptable. Children do not need to be sexualized under any circumstance. Education, again, is very different to indoctrination. And so we can educate children about the biological realities of reproduction, of males and females, but it needs to be age specific, and it doesn't need to have all of these incredibly extreme and fringe sexual preferences and ideologies imposed upon them. That, you know, if you're an adult, do whatever you like within the law, obviously. Sure. But when you start involving children, you will have mama bears like me and many other people rise up in society and say, no, I'm sorry, we're drawing the line. You are not having our children.
And we love you for it.
Thank you. Well, I'm just one of many, 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 and I feel I have a responsibility with the platform that I have and the audience that I have to stand up and say what we all think and what we're all concerned about. But I don't want to just have a talk fest about these things. I'm really committed to making sure that we take action on these things.
Well, Political Posting Mama is another fantastic person doing in the same
great.
Yeah, she is. You're friends with her, yeah?
Getting to know her, yes. Obviously on social media, she's been fantastic and has been a very courageous voice in this space. Yeah, starting to get to know her now. So I have an admiration for her.
Well, I feel the same about both of you. I had her on my channel like last year, so long ago now. But it's like since then she's been reported, and she's dealt with a lot by the left. And let's touch on the left for a second. Do you find that some reasonable left, do you find that, obviously we're talking in generalizations, we're not going to talk about individuals. Obviously you probably know some individuals who happen to lean left. But in terms of in generalizations, do you find that they are so extreme? Do you think that they know what they're saying? Do you think they are that they are just tricked by this bigger globalist agenda? Or do you think that they actually believe the hype that they do?
Well, I think there's a bit of both. I think there is a deliberate and a dedicated leadership, or influential people who know exactly what they're doing in terms of constructing family, deconstructing gender, deconstructing whatever they can, because they want big government. Big government is control. They can control the masses. And then you do have, I have some amazing friends who are left-leaning. I know a lot of people on that side who are very reasonable and willing to debate and engage in issues. But I think there is a great a number of people on the left who are what we describe as the useful idiots. There's the emotional engagement at that level when they first get sucked in, I guess, to the arguments. But when you try and go into what's the reason, what's the rationale, where's the logic in some of those positions, they're very much left floundering, and all that comes back are insults and harassment. And I think that's where the left is exposed as to being very wanting in their positions. So I think it's both. I think you have this hierarchy, and there is a level of people who are very informed, who know exactly what they're doing. But in general, the mass population, unfortunately, the younger generation have been quite indoctrinated. So the current university-aged person has a really big battle on their hands in terms of sifting through information. And I don't think they've even been taught in a lot of cases to value logic or reason. It's all emotive, feelings-based arguments all the time, and there's no measure when it comes to feelings. There's no standards, nothing that we can't measure it, whereas logic, fact, science, reason can be measured.
Do you think it will come back? Do you think logic and science and common sense at some point will come back? Because at the moment it ain't dominating.
Yeah, that's right. Well, look, when you, and this is the thing, a lot of people don't study history, but when you study history, there are pendulum swings all the time. That is, it's very cyclical, or pendulum, whichever, way you want to refer to it. So yes, societies have often gone to the extremes, and then it's gotten really bad and swung back, and then it goes the other way. So I think we're in a stage of history at the moment where we are seeing those extremes. It's quite concerning because it affects people's lives. It is a matter of life and death in many of their things, and that's why we do need to, as a bloc, stand up and defend truth, defend reason, defend the hope that we all have that we can continue to function as a civilised society. But unfortunately, there's quite a lot of casualties along the way. So.
Yeah, that's very true. It's funny too, because some of the things that we have often said as conservatives or as Christians or as atheists who happen to lean right, we all said that the moment gay marriage is permitted in Australia, it will open the door to other things. And they said that's ridiculous, that's not true, that's impossible. But we're already seeing this wide-held acceptance of intergenerational love. That's clearly going to be the next thing. Polyamory, polygamy will probably be in there, and already countries like Canada have legalized bestiality, at least if it's oral, not if it's penetrative. So we already know that it's getting worse. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, look, I said, yeah, we did warn about a lot of things. Primarily, my concern is as a parent, I have 3 children, and I'm looking at, you know, what they're exposed to and what's happening in our society. As we touched on earlier, we've got things like official identification documents being tampered with. Like, I mean, they're a lie. Once upon a time, we could rely on birth certificates, driver's license, passports for accurate factual information, and now we're told that facts don't matter, feelings are far more important. So that's going to have a lot of effects. I'm very interested and very concerned about the effects for women in our society. We're looking at the disadvantages that women are already experiencing in sport. They're taking away the incentive for girls to even want to participate, let alone participate at an elite level, where they're going to face disadvantage by men who identify as women, encroaching on our spaces. We have men in female prisons, even here in Sydney, that's happening. We're seeing women's services being abused by men who are, again, identifying as women. Now, it does happen the other way. You know, people often say, oh, you only care about the women. That's not true. But, you know, there are women who identify as men or imitate men or pretend to be men. I won't say that there is any such thing as a real sex change. You can't change your sex.
No.
These are so many of the implications, but again, some of the most concerning implications are the fact that now, because we have redefined marriage, that's opened the door in the education system, where children now almost have to be exposed to the LGBTI agenda. It's being taught as the norm. It's being expressed because marriage between one man and one woman has biological function in reproduction. And so I've never been opposed to teaching kids about biology. That's a great thing. That's, you know, it's a God-created, well-accepted, historical, traditional, scientific facts. But
yes,
moving into the area of adult sexuality, that's a completely different kettle. It's completely different to biological sexual functions. And so now, because we've redefined marriage, that has opened the door to forcing or exposing children to biological sexual activity. And I think that's unacceptable.
That is unacceptable. Well, that leads into something that some people find a little bit shocking. Not shocking when I say, but I think it's fine that schools don't teach children about faith. I think it's fine that they just taught history, maths, all of that kind of stuff. I think because I'm a Christian, that surprises people, because they're like, well, don't you want schools to be teaching kids Christianity? Of course I do. But if they're not going to teach it, then at least they're teaching like just the facts, like, and that's fine with me. But what does bother me is the fact that there is an indoctrination of another type, and there's an ideology of another type, and that's scary, because that ideology of another type is homosexuality, atheism, transgenderism, and so in that alone, there's already a contradiction. So if we're not allowed to teach faith in schools, then we shouldn't be allowed to teach these poisonous ideologies. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I think, again, education should be about information, obviously, and giving all available information at age-appropriate levels. So no, I don't think that schools are the place to teach children about personal faith. That's a responsibility of families or churches or synagogues or mosques or whatever your faith is. I think in a democratic and free society, we should be able to express those things. And I think all of those things should be open to critical analysis and debate. So school, to me, the function is, as you said, is to teach history, and the historical facts are that Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, atheism, humanism, secularism, whatever the ism is, should actually be taught in the context of history. Children should be taught to think critically. Oh my goodness, a bird just flew into a window. That really frightened me. Yeah, so in the context of school and education, the facts of those religions should be taught, and but forcing children, to go to a mosque and pray, or to, learn the rosary or whatever it is, I don't think that's the place necessarily for those things. If it's an Islamic school, or if it's a Christian school or a Jewish school, and it's with the parents' full knowledge and consent, then that may be a different thing. But in public schools, historical facts should be taught. And as you've indicated, what that means often is, well, what they're doing now is actually rewriting history. They're even they're laying onto history the context of what we're experiencing now. So there's suggestions that, whether it's homosexuality, transgenderism, or different levels of faith are being expressed, in history, but that's not the fact. They're rewriting history to suit the narrative that they want to express today, and that's unacceptable.
Well, the new narrative at the moment is that you are wrong if we are wrong if we are instilling this heteronormative society, because that's just not how people are. And that seems to be what will be taught in schools at some point. And the whole trans thing, and I don't mean transgender, I mean one whole gender, not anything. We're just people, and it's beautiful because, we're all united and we're all one, and that's how that's how they put their little icing on it. Do you think that it'll get worse, or do you think that the common sense will kick in before it gets worse?
Oh, look, no, I think that there's going to be continued division in society. That seems to me to be quite inevitable. We've a real polarization happening of the extremes, and also, what I would say, we're all just in the center saying, well, this has been normal throughout human history, and we're going to be normal throughout human history. But there is a very vocal contingent and powerful contingent that are on the extremes of all, whether it's religious, whether it's atheism, whether it's the LGBTI stuff. So, no, I think the division, the polarization will increase for a time yet. But we have to make sure that we hold our ground and remain vocal in this space, that we appeal to reason, to history, to science, to facts, to all of those. I don't think those things actually matter to a lot of the emotive extremists, but my hope is that they will be exposed for the ludicrous and ridiculous positions that they hold in many instances, that they're not defendable. You can't defend a lot of the positions that those people hold. And but I'm also, I think which sets us apart from a lot of these extremists is that I will debate ideology until the cows come home. I have no problem exposing the ridiculous nature of many of the ideas that people have, whether they're religious ideas, sexual ideas, whatever it is, and I think that we can do those. However, those on the left like to do personal attacks and to shut them personally, to harass and bully, and I think that we just have to hold the line and make sure that we always keep it about the ideas and debate the ideologies. I think that there's already casualties. People in the UK have been arrested for stating the truth that a man can't be a woman. There's laws passed in Canada and they're trying in the USA and things like that to shut people down. But then let's bring it on. Let's do it, because we have to do it for our children. We have to do it for civil society. I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. We're going to do this thing. So, bring the pap smears for men, bring the periods for men, bring the pregnant men thing, whatever it is, because it is ludicrous. It's extreme. It's ridiculous. And we will show it up for what it is.
And they know, they have to know, they would know that a man has a penis and a woman has a vagina. That's like, there's that funny little scene in Kindergarten Cop in that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He goes, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. That's as basic as he gets. Like, that's all you need. So they know, they just want to be different. And that, I can't word my way around it. I can't become logical around it. There's just no
logic.
Yeah. Well, that does bring up to my mind someone. I'm not sure if you know her. You'd probably say him though. Have you ever heard of Dana Pham?
I didn't catch that one.
Dana Pham.
Yes, I've met Dana. Yep.
Well, what are your thoughts? I'm only asking you because she specifically told me to ask you. So,
Well, look, I'm not going to make comment on personal individuals. I don't think that that's fair.
I only asked because I was told to. So,
well, Dana is more than welcome to contact me to ask me any questions. That's fine. As I've said, I will not discuss or attack or debate or whatever an individual person. I will talk about ideologies. I'll talk about ideas. So, yeah, I'm not going to be drawn into something like that at all.
No, I wasn't trying to trick you. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, that's really good. That really does set you apart from the left, because exactly what you said is that they don't attack ideas, they attack the person when they can't attack ideas. And there might be one or two out there that do, start to attack the idea a little bit, but then they get sick of it and then they just attack you as a person. Like there's an individual named Mel McPhee on Facebook, and some time ago her baby died. It was like a stillborn or something, and the left thought it would be a good idea to send her photos and memes of other dead babies, and then they ask her in the comment section of other things, oh, didn't you kill your baby? Like really evil things that it's like it makes no sense. Like, and that's what the left is. They're evil. I think they are. But at the same time, I also believe that they're severely misguided. And they have to know what they're doing is really mean when they do that. Have you had sort of to that degree of evil?
Oh, look, I've seen some really wicked behaviour. As I said, I've been the target of some of that really wicked behaviour. But again, it's water off a duck's back to me. I don't care. I really don't care. I know who I am. I know what I believe in. I know what I stand for. And I don't care if I'm the last man standing is my little thing with a wink. I will be that person. I don't care. Because this isn't for an audience. This isn't for anybody else. This is just, a housewife from rural New South Wales saying what I believe in. And it just so happens that there's a large number of people that I agree with or agree with me. And so we're just standing together in these things. So people can be as vile and repulsive and threatening as they like. It's not going to change my mind. If you want to engage in ideas, you can have a go. I probably won't change my ideas too much. I'm always interested in education, history, information, and finding out more. But if you're just coming at me with a motive and threatening or harassing sort of things, it's not going to work. And so people who engage in those things, I think, require a lot of care and compassion. They have issues, obviously, that need to be dealt with. And this is how, it's a symptom. It's not a cause, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense. Like you were saying before about, I've read up on you, obviously, and I do know that you're considered, like, you're mocked a lot on leftist pages, maybe more than me. But I remember that you said something very, very offensive, and you said that there are only two genders, and you were blocked on Facebook for 30 days, was it, for saying that?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's funny because it seeps into our social media now. It's like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter are all really shitty in that regard. It's very hard to maintain a platform if you're going to keep getting blocked. I was blocked today, this morning, because I put this photo of this ginormous woman, and she was nude. I put like this big cartoon in front of her, and because she was attacking me on Twitter, I said something like, "I'm afraid that this woman's going to be." It was mean. It was a little bit catty, but the point is that Facebook took it down based on the fact that it was nudity. When the lefties have like things like that, they pretty much have free reign. I'm not saying that they never get banned, but it certainly happens a lot less to a lefty than it would to a conservative.
Yeah, that's been my experience. But like I know I don't use foul language. I never threaten anyone. I don't engage on a personal level. Yet, I am banned consistently enough because of my. But most of those are just truthful ideas. Like the fact is, a man cannot be a woman. That's a fact. I'm now, in a 30-day ban from Facebook, which it it reiterates all of my points as far as I'm concerned. And yes, the left can be vile and extreme, and they don't seem to get banned. I think we all accept that now. So I'll use Twitter, I'll use Facebook, I'll use YouTube, whatever I can. But, you know, we have a website, binary.org.au. We have an email list. You know, there's tens of thousands subscribed to that email list, and they're the true supporters. They're the ones who I'm engaged with. They're the ones that we're working with. They're the ones that we're taking action. You know, we were able to expose Bill Shorten's plan for drag queen story time.
I saw your video on that on YouTube. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, you're right. You know, we've been able to expose the books that are in libraries, you know, a 6-year-old enjoying oral sex. So that's now currently before the classification board. We've been able to, you know, develop a P&C pack for parents, and that was out of stock within, you know, the day of launching it, and it's now available worldwide online, and it's making a difference. We're now also doing our parental rights campaign. So I'm not really too worried what social media platforms or, you know, what extremists want to do to me. Like I said, they can waste all the oxygen they like trying to do it. I'm committed to making a difference, and we're making a difference. And there's tens of thousands who are with me in that. So we're just getting on with the job.
So good. That's fantastic. Regarding that that book, I did a little video on my channel where I pretended that it was play school, but I called it trans school. And then I read a story about, it's called The Gender Fairy. And I read it, and then I was like, I was mocking it when I was reading it. And then I read an alternative book that really asserts the identity of being a girl and why it's fun to be a girl. A book that I bought at the ACL tour. The Australian Christian Lobby was doing a tour around the country. Yeah. Sorry?
Wendy's book. This is what little girls are made of. Yeah.
Yes. You know it. Yes. I think stuff like that makes a real difference. And even non-Christians, I think, are buying that book because it's just it's everything a little girl needs to hear. Like if you do have a child that unfortunately thinks and wants and wishes and prays that they were something else, you have to validate them not as what they should be or what they want to be, but as what they are, how fantastic they already are. Look how great you are now, though. Like, but parents aren't doing that. It's really sad. And some parents are making their children trans. Like Charlize Theron, I feel like her little black son is now her black daughter. It just makes no sense. What, because he expressed one time at the age of 3, and then like a couple of years later, she's like, oh, my son is now a girl, hooray. It's virtue signaling at the upteen degree. It's really disgusting. That it's not parenting.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of our objectives with Binary is to celebrate our differences. And, you know, women have fought for, you know, a century, well, probably throughout all history, actually. But, you know, in the last century, we've made so many gains in breaking down the stereotypes of what is a man and what is a woman. And I think that's been really valuable. I think that, you know, I agree with the whole, the word spectrum, in the sense of there are countless examples of what it is to be a woman. There are countless examples of what it is to be a man, but it doesn't change the fact that you are a man or a woman, or you are male or female. So, you know, females who enjoy traditionally male things such as
driving trucks,
or getting dirty, having short hair, wearing jeans. So what? They're still girls. They're just girls who like those things. And boys who like ballet and boys who like pink or boys who like whatever are still boys. They just happen to like those things. And I think we've come so far in breaking down the rigid stereotypes, and it amuses me that activists want to put us back in those boxes and say, well, this is what a woman is, and I'm a woman because I wear a dress and lipstick and high heels, or I feel like a woman. Well, I'm sorry, you're a bloke. You don't know what it is to feel like a woman. You never will know. You can imitate a woman. You can pretend to be a woman. You can impersonate a woman. You cannot be a woman. And the same goes the other way. So I think that it's quite, you know, where conservatives are accused of being, you know, very rigid or, you know, backwards, I guess, in a sense. But to me, it's these liberals who are out there and going, oh, you must conform, you must be in this box, you must conform to our... and it makes no sense whatsoever.
And not only that, everything you've said is completely accurate, but then at the same time, they want to get rid of the concept of gender too. So you can't have it both ways, guys. Like, pick one. Just choose. Yeah, it's so stupid. And it's the same with, it's mind-boggling how stupid their arguments are and how they don't see it. Or if they see it, they completely ignore it and never mention it again.
Well, their ideology is fluid. I don't know about, gender.
That's a good way to put it.
Their sensibility is fluid because you can't fight it with logic in that sense. There is no logic in a lot of their arguments.
No, I agree. And it's the same thing in the United States regarding race. Like, Black people who obviously descended from slavery, unfortunately, today want to resegregate college dorms, Blacks here and whites here. It's like, well, we don't want to share a space with white people because your people did bad things to us. Oh, okay, so you want to reverse everything Martin Luther King fought for, do you? Like, it's so retarded. Like, it makes no sense to me at all, and I don't understand it. Like, they're slowly undoing everything, all the great work that's already been done, and it's happening here, just not racially, or not that I'm aware of. But yeah, it's just so stupid.
Yeah, well, it's the pendulum, the thing again. There's extremes in all of these ideologies, and of course, not all Black people feel like that at all.
No.
And yeah, it's unfortunate that there's a vocal minority who brings us back into a very divisive society, whereas we've worked very, very hard for all people, men, women, people of all nationalities, to be accepted. And, my growing up in Australia has been the most fabulous experience, and I believe we still are one of the greatest countries on earth. But it was because we were a fantastic melting pot of people of all different nationalities. Women had, I've had every opportunity that my brother and peers have had, and it's been absolutely fantastic. And that's something else, the freedoms that we have here in Australia are so worth defending. We have a wonderful nation, and we, up until now, have had freedom of expression and freedom of association and freedom of thought. And the more global we've become, the more those things have been threatened. And but again, I have a rich military history in my family line, and while I'm not a soldier, I'll certainly be a warrior for common sense.
Well done. Now that we've touched on this, what is your thoughts on immigration at large? Because a lot of people think, and I'm the daughter of immigrants. I'm half Colombian, I'm half Spanish. Speak fluent Spanish, fluent English, but I'm sort of seen by the left as a not gender traitor, although they've called me that too. What's the other word? A race traitor. Yeah, sorry, race traitor, because I defend white people and I defend like the white South African farmers. I even did an interview with a South African podcast, and I defend the idea of Australia returning to what it was. Returning to what it was. And somehow my saying that immigration has to stop is a really evil thing for me to say. What are your thoughts on immigration? Because it's not really something I've heard you speak about.
Oh, well, I did speak about that a lot through two different federal elections. But international, I hate all the labels that people, want to put on to others, basically. I think Australia isn't for white people at all. I don't believe that for 1 second. I believe that, I grew up, high school through the 80s, and a lot of different nationalities have been a part of my life, and I love that. And I think Australia is made so rich because of all the nationalities that have come here, and we've all made this our home, and I love that. And what I think is the problem with immigration is it's not sustainable. We don't have the infrastructure. Again, I mean, it's a global issue, because now we are seeing the conflict of ideologies. Again, it's not about the color of people's skin. It's not about your gender. It's about this the imposition of one ideology over another. And for my growing up years in Australia, it was all about equality and saying, look, we're happy to engage in all of these, to welcome anyone, but we have these values, and freedom was the ultimate value. You know, the freedom to express who you are, man or woman, whatever religion you are, whatever nationality, whatever background. And if you are committed to building a community, a society, a civil society that is respectful of one another, that gives everyone a fair go, that is about truth, you know, fair income, that's where that comes from. We appreciate people who are fair income. But it's been, you know, over the last 10, 20 years, we've seen, you know, ideologies trying to raise their heads, but not just so that they can be established, but so they can be imposed on others. And you can say that about a number of different religious ones, or the gender stuff. So I think that it's really the immigration issue, where we're putting lives at risks, where there's not enough infrastructure, where there's ideas that are not compatible with Western democratic values, then those things need to be explored. But yeah, on a very surface level at the moment, the immigration is not sustainable, because in every major city, you know, we do not have the infrastructure. My daughter recently asked me, you know, was this the worst drought that we've ever had? And I said, well, you know, I can't answer that other than to say, you know, when I was her age, when I was 11 or 12, there was a terrible drought in Australia. We were seeing images on the news every night that were quite horrific, of dams drying up, livestock being killed. But what's happened is there's been no major dams built in my lifetime. There's been no infrastructure, yet the population, you know, has increased by at least a third in that time. So the effects of something like the drought a lot more significantly. They were terrible when I was a child. It's terrible now, but it's in cycles. It happens. But if we're not prepared as a country to build dams, to improve our roads, to get better housing, to do all of those sort of things, then we're going to have all these problems. And what people are going to do is say, you know, it's because of immigration, it's because of this race or that, it's because of that religion or this. And there may be elements of truth to those things, but we have to see it as a whole. And unfortunately, politics has become so identity driven instead of looking at what is best for the society. And it's all very much in the immediate. We've become this culture that requires satisfaction in the now, and you've got to be on the edge, and you've got to be these things. And so the long-term planning's all gone out the window. I mean, I could go on about this for ages, but it's a very very complex, but it's also very simple, that when we've all started to become so insular, so focused on me, number one, making sure that I have my rights and I have my position, other people's rights are being trampled. And that's why we're facing so many of the issues that we're facing today.
Yeah. Regarding no, for sure. No, I understand. I think I agree mostly. Where I differ a little bit, I think, is not that I differ. I actually agree with the sentiment of everything you said. But don't you find it unusual that it's Western countries that are being socially engineered to take on so many different people? Like, why haven't they asked Sudan and Vietnam and Japan and Israel to take on hordes and hordes of Black people and Muslim people and Asian people? Like, why is it the West? I think there's certainly a global agenda there that countries like New Zealand, Australia, the UK, Sweden, Germany, even my dad's country of Spain, to have an onslaught of different people. Whether it's race replacement or whatever wording you want to use, it is unusual that it's only countries that are democratic in nature and relatively white European centric. And again, this is why I'm a race trader, because I espouse these thoughts at some level. So, well, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, are you anti-ethno-nationalism? Are you anti-nationalism? Like, what are your thoughts on everything I just said?
Oh, look, again, I don't like all the labels. I won't label myself.
That's fair.
On any of those things. Again, I'll say, look, there's definitely a globalist movement that is yeah, again, it's a whole other conversation, but I believe there is an agenda there, and I believe I've questioned many times. I've done videos about it. I've made so many posts that, Australia has limited resources, and we are not able, like, where do you draw the line? We can't take every immigrant that wants to come here. It's not possible. Sustainable.
Exactly.
We cannot physically do it. So lines have to be drawn. I think that I would like to see us be a nation that is very compassionate and gives aid and helps others, but not at the expense of our own.
Yes,
great expense of our own nation. So, yeah, I've asked the question many times. Surely it would be better for us to resettle victims of jihad and Muslims and things like that in countries that more similarly represent the values that they have. Doesn't mean that we can't exist and offer aid to those countries, but to just say we've got open doors and everyone should come here that wants to come here it's just ridiculous. It's not sustainable. We're not able to do it. So I like to look at it more from that point of view than, like I said, the color of someone's skin, their beliefs are not so, beliefs are important, as I said, when they're trying to take away the rights or to be imposed on someone else. And unfortunately, those who have the Islamic Caliphate idea want to dominate Western Christian Judaic culture, and so I think that is a big problem, and that we need to address that and have an honest conversation about it. Where we can coexist together, that's a whole different thing. There are many religious or humanistic beliefs that can coexist together, but where there's an Islamic Caliphate belief that they must dominate, that is definitely a problem.
Yes, well, I've been very, very harsh on Islam for the longest time, and I'll continue to be. But I have tried to be, and I hope no one gets shocked by this, because it's not. I'm not going to stop my thought system on it. But I have, after befriending certain Muslims like Imam Tawhidi and Emma Eros, I'm quite. I'm a little bit more hesitant to say the types of things I was saying before, because they have a different understanding of their own faith. One is Sunni, one is Shia, and you are someone who is actually quite knowledgeable on Islam, probably more than I am, or I'd imagine a great deal more than I am. Is there, yes or no, a form of Islam that can coexist with the West?
Well, see, it's kind of two different conversations, because a Muslim is not Islam. So Islam is the ideology. It's like trying to put all Catholics or all Christians in a box. You cannot do it. There are Catholics from every nation on earth, and the expression of Catholicism is different in every instance and in every person. So you can have a go at Christians or Catholics, but it's very different to having a go at the biblical theology, because they're two different things. And I think it's the same Muslims and Islam. So I have worked with and sat with countless Muslims who have been victims of Islamic ideology. Yeah, and Muslims are the by far the largest number of victims of Islam, of Islam belief. And so I really won't criticize Muslim people because
I wasn't asking you to. I was asking you to.
Yeah. So when I read the Quran and Hadiths, and just on that level, I have so many concerns about what created Islam in the first place, in terms of the theology that is behind all of those things. So I'm very Islam critical. I will debate, any of those issues anytime, but I will not say. So yes, I think Muslims can live in Australia, and be very peaceful and a huge amount to our society, just as anybody else can. So can a Hindu, so can a Christian, so can a Jewish person. We can all do those things, but it's the ideology that drives some of these things that is of great concern to me.
No, that's true. But unfortunately, and where I say that I'm a little bit more hesitant now, it's still a fact that 5%, once a Western nation reaches over 5% of a Muslim population, things get worse. Like the UK, I think they've reached 10-ish or so percent. There are no-go zones now. They've claimed neighborhoods. Sweden, there's a whole area now where cops don't even want to go there anymore. So as much as I can acknowledge that there are fantastic Muslim people, which was never an argument I think that we had to validate anyway. Like that's just the left goes, oh, you're Islamophobe just because they can. That was never an issue. But certainly the facts still mean that statistically, when you reach over a certain amount of Muslims, things get worse. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think, you know, where there's concentrations of ideology and the teaching being propagated, then you're going to see issues, and we've seen that around the world, most definitely, where, you know, where people can become more fundamental in their beliefs or the lost the word, sorry, but where they're actually acting on the doctrine of those things, and that you know, there's strength in numbers. So the more numbers, the more likely people are going to act on what's being taught. Then it is inevitable, and that's what we're seeing. You know, when there's commands to strike terror into people's hearts, where there's commands, an example of the prophet to do certain things, well, the more believers that get together will do that and will be emboldened to do that. And yeah, we're seeing that around the world. So it's a conversation that we need to have here in Australia of how do we prevent that? How do we live together, and how do we continue to have religious freedom? But religious freedom means, you know, that you don't kill the Jews and the Christians.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, do you think it's funny that it's so easy to trick the left? For example, this, which means AOK, now means white power. Like someone did it as a joke to see whether they'd get triggered, and now it's like considered a hate symbol. And
yeah,
this,
I think it's absurd.
Yeah, peace is now two genders. Like, we should do it even more just to annoy them.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, look, like, you know, so many comedians are saying, you know, we need to be able to mock, we need to be able to satirize things, we need to be able to do all of those things. So, you know, each to their own. And I think, yeah, again, like we've just gone to such extremes and such ludicrous examples of these things that we're looking for a demon under every bush, under every rock, and it's just not there. It's just not there, you know. Those gestures are, you know, I have no doubt that some people use them with terrible intent, but the majority,
for sure.
The majority just don't. So let's engage our brains and use some common sense on these things.
Have you had any like negative dealings with, okay, so obviously we both agree on the left, but have you had any really negative dealings or anything with those who are very much on the right? And when I say on the right, I mean on the far end, who like think Hitler's awesome.
Look, not a lot. I don't think I attract much of that sort of attention from people, but
I'm getting for both ends.
You know, again, I just try to be measured. I won't engage with, I find that extremists on all ends, the language that they use, the examples they use, they're beyond me. They're not the way I operate. So I tend to steer clear of them, and they steer clear of me. So I haven't had much engagement there at all.
I was at church on Sunday, and then I remembered a song, and so I copied and pasted the lyrics of a song on Gab, because I have a Gab account as well, and it's just about like Jesus being happy with you or whatever. And then someone wrote, and the name of the account is Anne Frank's Clitoris, and I was just disgusted by that immediately. But I was very nice back. I'm like, oh, thank you so much for commenting. That's so sweet. God bless you. And then they were like, oh, and they responded back in kind, which was good. But yeah, so unfortunately.
Look, I have no problem. I do block people. I don't block people who are reasonable or engage. I block people who either use my platform for their soapbox. They can build their own audience. Thank you very much. I've done my work and I want to protect my people who I don't think when they're getting abused, should be exposed to that. So if people contact me, I mean, I can't read every comment on my social media at all, but when people contact me and say someone's abusing them, I just get rid of them. I don't care. I have no time for abuse, harassment, bullies.
That's good.
And, you know, I think the other thing probably in that movement is, you know, I'm a strong supporter of Israel, and so anti-Semites just don't come near me because I won't tolerate it.
That's good. I used to be the same way. I used to be totally pro-Israel, and I still am. I still think that they should exist as a nation, but I think it's okay to criticize Israel, and then that's where I get called an anti-Semite and stuff like that, because I sort of started where I thought Israel never did any wrong. Now I've done more research, and I'm like, okay, so they are doing some bad things, whatever. It's all good, but then criticize.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there's no such thing as perfection. There's no perfect nation. There's no perfect people. So, again, I think it's ideas and policy that can be criticised. You know, that goes for your own political party, your own denomination in Christianity, your own whatever it is. Everything is open to criticism or critical analysis. It doesn't mean that you, you know, we don't lump everybody or every idea in the same basket. It's just simply going, hey, I support Israel, but there'll be policies that
I hate.
That I go, I don't agree with that. That's okay. You know,
it isn't. That's the thing. It makes you an anti-Semite to attack an idea, and that's what I really hate. It's like, if I say that I hate Milo Yiannopoulos or something, do I automatically hate all gay people? No, I don't hate Milo. That was just an example. But like, it's just so stupid. It really bothers me, that type of thinking. I think where you and I are different again is that I value labels. I think we need them as a way to really, really establish and verify our position. Like, if I couldn't say I was a Christian, what would I say? Like it's a fantastic word, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying all labels. Some to me are unhelpful, and I don't fit into those labels. I am a woman, I am a wife, I am a mother. Those labels, you know, I'm a Christian. I'm happy to accept those labels that
exactly.
But it's the you know, there are other labels that I just think they're not helpful, they're divisive, they're not going to and they don't easily define people in some circumstances.
I understand where you're coming from now, as in a little bit more. I've understood it better now. Would you say that rather than calling yourself a nationalist, you're patriotic? Is that possible?
Possibly. I mean, again, I just think so. The labels have become so corrupted, and they mean
that's true
to different people. And you know, they're trying to corrupt the label of woman or wife or whatever. But I think it's still well enough established for people to know what it means. And so, do I love being an Australian? Absolutely.
Oh, there you go.
And I love that you're Australian. I love that my Filipino, you know, has my Filipino neighbor who was born in the Philippines lives here now, has embraced being Australian. She's Australian. So I love that. You know, I don't have any problems with that. So I'm happy to say I'm Australian. I love being an Aussie. I love being, you know, a conservative Aussie, a woman, a wife, a friend. You know, I will embrace those labels. But
that's good.
I just think have become too corrupted and mean too many different things to too many people. So I don't accept those labels, I guess.
That's
if you label yourself as those things, by all means, but I won't accept the label for myself.
No, that's understandable. Well, what's next for you? What's coming up? Do you have any exclusives on your website or on binary.com or anything?
Yeah, well, like I said, we're really going to be concentrating very hard on the next 12 to 18 months on this parental rights campaign. We will be and working with politicians to develop policy and legislation that will protect parental rights. And I will continue to speak out, continue to expose. You know, I have a lot of fun, as you would know, exposing the ludicrous ideas of the gender fluidity nonsense that's going on. But I will continue to comment on political events that are happening. I will continue to do all of those things. But I mean, my heart and passion's for my family. You know, this is just something I do on the side. My family, I raise my family. I live on the, you know, in the countryside. I love it. We have animals, we have gardens, I have friends, I have all of those sort of things. So that's my life.
Flying to windows.
All of those sort of things. And I'll just speak my mind. If anyone wants to listen or agree, fantastic. Let's join together and do that. But, you know, this is not where my identity is formed, or I don't need this sort of thing. And I guess I look forward to the day where I don't have to have a job at Binary, because we've won.
Cool. Yeah. Do you do talks? Do you do things with, like, I don't know, CPAC or like Friedman Conference? Do anything like that?
I'm open to those sort of things. I have travelled extensively in the past to do some public speaking events, and there will be some of that coming up. We will do some tours and campaigning for the parental rights campaign in particular. But
nice to meet you face to face.
Yeah, social media is fantastic and suits my life at this moment in time. But yeah, but I will consider invitations as they arise and determine whether that's best for me and my family or not at that time.
Well, I'll make sure that I have all of your links in the description box below. Everyone now knows you're banned on Facebook.
Yeah, well, I can get around the ban though. I won't give away all my secrets, but you know, there's admins that you can use. So I can still post on my Kirralie Smith New South Wales page. It's just my personal page that I
promote this interview on that.
Sorry?
Promote this interview on that.
No. Yeah, so all right, well, it was nice talking to you, dear.
It was very, very nice to talk to you, and I hope I love everything you're doing, and I actually do think very much that parents, and I'm not a parent yet, but parents have lost a lot of their rights, and it's really scary. So I'm so thankful that you're on that bandwagon, because I'm more on the abortion bandwagon. I feel like that's more my calling. I don't know why. I've never had an abortion, but like that's just where my heart is. So I'm really pleased that you're doing what you're doing, and that we're all working together in sort of in this big chain of conservative ideals. So it's really, really good.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll let you go. Just to let everyone know that tomorrow night, The Uncuckable starts at 8:30 p.m. and I'm doing a Sunday night debate, and that starts at 9 p.m. Okay. Thank you so much, Kirralie. I really enjoyed our discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye. I'm just going to end the broadcast.